so Wendy's, we know about you and Takis. And we snitching? What? I'm not even, what have you heard exactly? Yeah, real smooth, bitch. Bitch, we know that you're in a relationship with Takis. That is not pretty much true. No, that's what's happening. We are not in a relationship. Bitch, I gotta tell you, respectfully, I don't like this. What? Why do you care, toilet? Bitch, I fucking care because America will eat anything you put in front of them. It's true. Y'all eat like y'all ain't gonna have horrible consequences later. If you don't give a damn, we don't give a fuck. Hey, toilet, you're doing too much. It's not that serious. Takis, you don't know what I've been through. Or at least you don't know what's been through me. Okay, that is way too much information. Yeah, come on, man. Kids are on this app. Fuck them kids. Goddamn alter ego. Bitch, as an expert on giving people the Hershey squirts, this can't be allowed to continue. See, this is exactly why I wanted to keep this a secret. No, this is exactly why people need to know that we go together. They need to understand that we don't give a fuck what they think. Do you really mean that? Yes, bitch, we're all in this together. High School Musical style. Bitch, I'm so happy. Well, I'm not. No one gives a shit, toilet. Oh shit, sorry I'm late for the video, guys. Bitch, no one cares except for people in California. What? That's not true. No one cares. Except for people in California. Haha. Where's the beef? That is not your slogan, bitch! Bitch, I'm gonna be in Little Rock, Arkansas, New Orleans, Portland, Oregon, Houston, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Washington, D.C., Denver, Colorado, and Cleveland, Ohio. Click the link in my bio and get your tickets today, bitch!
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz. Oh, there's so much that we got to get caught up on. But let's start it off with the head of DHS. Yes, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Ice Barbie herself, and her definition of habeas corpus. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. Here we go.
We have some big news right now. Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, does not know what habeas corpus is. She was asked today, quote, what is habeas corpus? In response, she said habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country. Folks, that's alarming because that's far from the truth. Habeas corpus is the constitutional right that every individual has to challenge their lawful detention.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas
right
corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President.
The Secretary of Homeland Security does not know what habeas corpus is, and she is the one responsible for assisting with the deportation efforts. This is extremely concerning. Habeas corpus is not a right that the president has, it's a right that the people being detained have. And it's a right that they have to challenge their unlawful detention. And everyone needs to know this, so spread the word and follow along for all the news you need to know about. More to come.
When I keep telling you all that there are multiple power grabs going on simultaneously, I'm not joking. I'm not being facetious. I really wish that I was. But the more you see from these weekly congressional hearings, from it being obvious that cabinet members are finding out about the dealings of other cabinet members and other appointees and nominees from watching the news, from watching social media, these multiple power grabs, no one's talking to anybody. They're all trying to make a name for themselves and prove their bravado. Because let's not forget, habeas corpus is going through the court system right now. The concept of habeas corpus, the Trump administration is challenging it in court. Therefore, one would think, logically, members of the administration would be having strategy meetings, et cetera, at least bare minimum, passing out a sheet of paper or sending out an email with the definition of what they're doing. But y'all want to argue that this is a collection of megaminds that are about to take over the world. No, they're not. No, they're not. This is the meritocracy they were telling you about. Let's eliminate all the black people and the brown people, and this is what meritocracy looks like. This is who they believe are qualified. And what do you think qualifies these people to be in the position that they're in? Now, before we get into some articles, I want y'all to see this montage, if you will, of their leader. Well, I should say their mascot. Once again, wish this was AI, wish it was fake. But no, they're real clips of him. Here is your El Trump.
And we have costs are way down. Groceries are where they have a term, grocery. It's an old term, but it means basically what you're buying, food. It's a pretty accurate term, but it's an old-fashioned sound. But groceries are down, costs are down, eggs are down. We're going to have a big, beautiful parade.
A military parade?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We're going to celebrate our military. We have the greatest military in the world.
Tag? Do you
People, peanuts compared to the value of doing it. We have the greatest missiles in the world. We have the greatest submarines in the world. We have the greatest army tanks in the world. We have the greatest weapons in the world. And we're going to celebrate. Iran has sort of agreed to the terms. They're not going to make, I call it in a friendly way, nuclear dust. We're not going to be making any nuclear dust in Iran. And we've been strong. I want them to succeed. I want them to end up being a great country. And I think we're getting close to maybe doing a deal without having to do this. There's two steps. There's a very, very nice step, and there's a violent step. When you look at what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, the drone is killing tremendous numbers of people. You hide behind a tree, and the drone comes down, and it circles you with fire. You don't have a chance. The tree comes down also, by the way. It's so intense. I mean, you see these trees being knocked down like they're being sawed down by a top-of-the-line timberman, like you know who? Sean Duffy. Do you know that Sean Duffy, the head of the Transportation Department, who's working right now on the airports and getting a system because Biden didn't do a thing for 4 years. And with that, we're surrounded by some of the greatest business people in the world. We just had a tremendous order of Boeing. This is Boeing, and this is General Electric. And General Electric, I hear, makes the best large airplane engine in the world by not even a contest. Maybe I'll have to change my engines one day on my plane because they're not General Electric. It's one of those things. But I hear you make the best engines in the world, Larry. Larry's somehow, his people at General Electric. First of all, it's one of the greatest turnarounds that you'll ever see in a company because when you took it over, it was, I want to be respectful, General Electric was in trouble, to put it, I would say, right? To put it mildly. And now it's a hot company doing great. And it's, I would imagine the hottest thing is what's happened with the engine division because this engine is incredible.
That is the ringleader whose DHS secretary does not know the meaning of habeas corpus, but they're challenging it in court. So showing you that montage, I wanted you, because I need people to get into reality. The think pieces, the hot takes regarding Trump and the administration and thinking that there's some great conspiracy theory behind it. I need them to stop. It is time for action. Sitting back, trying to pretend as if these people are intellectuals, as if they are card-carrying members of Mensa is doing what? Y'all are complaining about the Democrats, the independents, the progressive, all of these fucking people, but they can't do anything until you do something. Like without a schedule and a job description, you wouldn't know what to do when you show up to work. You're not giving them a schedule. You're not giving them a job description. You're sitting around twiddling your thumbs, complaining about everybody and trying to give credence to people where there is no credence. You have a collection of people right now in DC, whether on Pennsylvania Avenue or on Capitol Hill, who are all trying to outmaneuver and outpower one another and keeping each other in the dark, let alone us. The only thing they're doing collectively is lying to us. And they're not even lying to save each other, to preserve each other's reputation. They're lying to save face for themselves. The new version of patriotism is convincing people to be loyal to them and them alone. Not the country, not the populace, not anything. Not even the fucking party. To them. But yeah, let's get caught up. Coming from the AP, jury convicts ex-Tennessee House Speaker and his aide in legislative mail scheme. Yep. Y'all remember, this is the same Tennessee with the infamous trio where they kicked some folks out. They got, reelected right back on in. Some people moved on to bigger and better things. When we say projection is a confession, y'all constantly looking for little things. Look for the big things too. Look for everything. Treat it like an Easter egg hunt. A federal jury on Friday convicted a former Tennessee House Speaker and his one-time chief of staff in a scheme to win taxpayer-funded mail business from state lawmakers even after scandals drove the two out of political power. Former Republican Representative Glenn Casada was found guilty of 17 of 19 charges, while his then chief of staff, Cade Cothran, was found guilty of all 19 charges in a public corruption trial that began in late April. Each man faces up to 20 years in prison when they are sentenced in September. They remain free on bond in the meantime, of course, because we know the complexion that they are. We started talking about this last year, okay? Because there was like some sex scandals wrapped up all into the just doing all numbers of things. Okay. And if they wouldn't have done what they did, I don't know if the rest of this stuff would have came out. That's the problem. I keep telling y'all, when it comes to racism and racist, they do so much that not only do they get hit with the ricochets of racism, they went from standing in the shadows, okay, where the sunlight wasn't hitting them, showing all their imperfections. They came out not just into the sunlight, but into the spotlight. And I don't know if you're a theater kid or not. I don't know if you've ever been in chorus or not. I don't know if you've ever played in an orchestra or not. But that spotlight, baby, will point out every imperfection that you have, every darkness, every wrinkle, everything. And that's what happens when you get out there. When you are trying to sling racism at somebody else, you got to step from underneath the trees. You got to step from in the midst of the bushes. You got to step out into the light. And the question is, when you're in the light, are you without blemish? Like, is your racism a cloak, a shield from the dirt that you're doing? Because when you look at it, when you go beyond just the surface, the vast majority of people who subscribe to racism, they subscribe to racism to alleviate their conscience. They create a melanated villain to point the finger at for all the stuff that they're doing. Obviously, we felt very strongly about our defense and were disappointed with the verdict, Casada attorney Ed Yarborough said after court was adjourned. Attorneys for both men said they planned to appeal. The current House Speaker, Cameron Sexton, had been held out as a star witness but ultimately did not testify. He has said he helped authorities in the case against his predecessor since taking the speaker job in 2019. Sexton was among the lawmakers and staffers who testified to the grand jury. The defense sought to draw attention to a political rivalry between Casada and Sexton. Ultimately, the defense declined to call any witnesses. Neither Casada nor Cothran testified, and defense attempts to discuss in front of jurors whether Sexton wore a wire were shut down by the judge. What in the Tory Lane? So you just didn't provide yourself a defense, but you were you're disappointed in the outcome. You tried to make this seem like this was political prosecution, but you didn't put your rival on the stand when your rival was willing to take the. That motherfucker's guilty. That motherfucker's guilty. Mhm. But moving on to the true American way, someone hailing from an immigrant to turn around and hate and disrespect immigrants. Who am I talking about? Oh, the man of many titles, but no job descriptions. Who was that? Marco Rubio. This is why he has so much time on his hand. The man is on Capitol Hill more than he's in the West Wing, more than he's in his office, more than he's actually doing his job. There's so many people doing his job. He just has the titles. But you know, that is the quintessential white man in the United States. A bunch of titles, a bunch of accolades, and a little bit of work. And that little bit of work is working on taking the credit. But let's get into it. Rubio says people should be celebrating U.S. welcoming South African immigrants. We're going to start here and we're going to build up. Because yes, I know he was on Capitol Hill saying a bunch of bullshit today. Okay? Secretary of State Marco Rubio rebuked criticism over the United States accepting immigrants from South Africa, arguing the U.S. is fulfilling its reputation of being a beacon for the world. That's the reputation you think that we have? That's how we market the United States. But that's not the reality. And everybody knows that's not the reality. Because the beacon would be taking people in whose lives are truly in danger. It would be taking people in whose governments we have destabilized. It would be taking people in who we went to their countries and convinced them to give us inside information, and we promised them refuge here. If we were a beacon, we wouldn't be removing due process from people and sending them to supermax prisons. But I digress. Let's keep going with this. The U.S. welcomed almost 50 refugees from South Africa this past week, marking the first group of Afrikaners, a white minority group in South Africa, to arrive under a new program offered by President Donald Trump. When asked about the president's claim that there is a genocide happening in the foreign country, Rubio told CBS News the residents are having their properties taken from them. So why didn't we have a program like this as soon as Trump took office for Palestinians? Because for decades, for generations now, Palestinians have had their properties taken by settlers. Y'all know about settlers. Settlers are all through U.S. history. It is. It's a guiding light straight to hell. Why aren't the Sudanese being offered asylum? Why aren't they being accepted as refugees? And I'm being facetious. I don't, because there are certain people that's going to come in here. Well, you know what? Yeah, I know. Please understand what a rhetorical question is. Call it whatever they want. But these are people that on a basis of their race are having properties taken away from them and their lives being threatened and in some cases killed, like Black people here, like Palestinians whose there are families with their entire lineage that are no longer on this mortal plane, Sudanese that are, because today Marco Rubio said that we were offering asylum status to Afrikaners because they're a small group and we can't save the world. There are millions of people around the globe that, you know, are facing atrocities. But since they're a small amount of people, comparatively, we can help them out. Let's continue when it comes to these Afrikaners, because that's not all we got on them. Okay. Also from the Associated Press, Trump alleges genocide in South Africa. White Afrikaner farmers reject that. Yeah, you heard that right. You heard that. You heard that right. You heard that correctly. Days before South Africa's president meets with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House, Afrikaner farmers at the center of an extraordinary new U.S. refugee policy roamed a memorial to farm attacks in their country's agricultural heartland, some touching the names of the dead, both black and white. Here in Brazzaville, where thousands of farmers gathered for a lively agricultural fair with everything from grains to guns on display, even some conservative white Afrikaner groups denied the Trump administration's genocide and land seizure claims that led it to cut all financial aid to South Africa. The bustling scene was business as usual, with milkshakes and burgers and tow-headed children pulled in wagons. The late President Nelson Mandela, South Africa's first Black leader, stood in Bothaville over a quarter century ago and acknowledged the increasing number of violent attacks on farmers in the first years following the decades-long racial segregation system of apartheid. But the complex problem of crime on our farms, as elsewhere, demands long-term solutions, he said. I really hope that during the upcoming visit to Washington, President Cyril Ramaphosa is going to be able to put the facts before his counterpart and to demonstrate that there is no mass expropriation of land taking place in South Africa, and there is no genocide taking place, John Steenhuisen, Minister of Agriculture, told the Associated Press. He will be part of the delegation for Wednesday's meeting. Here's the thing, getting Trump to listen. No, the only person that Trump seems to listen to is Putin. And that 2-hour conversation, sidebar, little scuttlebutt says that Putin changed the subject and then told Trump to drop it. And what did Trump do? He dropped it. But Trump has decided that white people are like they can understand oppression. They can understand wrongdoing when they are willing to understand someone's humanity. Listen to that again. But let's continue. The minority white Afrikaner community is in the spotlight after the U.S. granted refugee status to at least 49 Afrikaners claiming to flee racial and violent persecution and widespread seizures of white-owned land, despite evidence that such claims are untrue. We know that. And like last week, I played footage of y'all where Afrikaners have been conning white racists in the United States for a while. They are the epitome of welfare queens, should they come over here. They're not going to want to work. They're not going to want to do anything. But yeah. While many at the agricultural fair raised serious concerns about the safety of farmers and farm workers, others were quick to point out that crime targeted both Black and white farmers and farm workers, as shown by South Africa's crime statistics. A Black farmer from Eastern Cape Province told the AP he had been attacked on his farm by criminals and almost kidnapped by a Black neighbor, but a Black neighbor intervened. Crime affects both Black and white. It's an issue of vulnerability, he said. Farmers are separated from your general public. We're not near towns, we're in the rural areas. And I think it's exactly that. So perpetrators, they thrive on that, on the fact that the farms are so isolated. Also, once again, putting sanctions on this country, U.S., removing USAID from this country and others, further destabilizes the country. When people get into fight or flight, they do some shit that they wouldn't normally do. People need to eat, and unfortunately, it costs to fucking breathe, let alone eat. Honey, baby, child, boo-boo. Told y'all that ain't word. Coming from The Guardian. We're back to Rubio and the Afrikaners. Rubio clashes with Democrats over decision to admit white South Africans. Tim Kaine condemns Secretary of State for admitting Afrikaners while canceling refugee schemes for others. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has defended the Trump administration's controversial decision to admit 59 Afrikaners from South Africa as refugees after Tim Kaine, a Democratic senator from Virginia, claimed they were getting preferential treatment because they were white. Well, that's true. I mean, I'm glad y'all finally getting bold and honest. Like, take it back. Yeah, y'all want some traditional shit? Bring back traditional politics. Bring back traditional politics where motherfuckers just said it plain. They told the truth, and if you didn't like it, just vote them out of fucking office. If you wanted to be lied to, you wanted to be lied to. But there was a point in time where lying-ass politicians didn't get very far. Because what you said may have sounded good, but if you couldn't back it up, they got into the ballot box and backed you the fuck out of office. Bring that shit back. Y'all want traditional everything else, bring back traditional politics. And before you go into traditional politics comes with racism, baby, every form of politics comes with racism and anti-blackness. Your point? I would rather you call me nigga to my face and be honest about it than all this tap dancing and other bullshittery. Okay. Kaine, Hillary Clinton's former running mate, challenged Rubio to justify prioritizing the Afrikaners while canceling longstanding refugee programs for other groups that have been more documented as victims of conflict or persecution. The clash between the two men was Rubio's most combative exchange in his first appearance before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee since his unanimous approval by senators in confirmation hearing in January. Remember, he only got that because, like I told y'all before, historically, it's like a tradition. If you are their colleague, they've worked with you. They just, we're going to vote them in. I wish they would stop that shit. Because you know when you got a good coworker and when you got a piss poor coworker. You know when you got a brown-nosed coworker and when you got a hard-working coworker. It came a day before South Africa's president, Cyril Ramaphosa, was due to meet Donald Trump at the White House in an encounter that promises to be highly charged thanks to the backdrop surrounding the incoming Afrikaners. Right now, the U.S. refugee program allows a special program for Afrikaner farmers, the first group of whom arrived in Dulles Airport in Virginia not long ago, while shutting off refugee program for everyone else, said Kaine, who was a candidate for vice president alongside Clinton in her unsuccessful 2016 presidential election campaign against Trump. Why does that matter right now? Anywho, let's keep going. Do you think Afrikaner farmers are the most persecuted group in the world? In response, Rubio said, I think those 49 people that came surely felt they were persecuted, and they've passed every sort of check mark that had to be checked off in terms of meeting their requirements for that. They live in a country where farms are taken, the land is taken on a racial basis. Trump has falsely asserted that white farmers in South Africa are undergoing a genocide and deserving of special status. I want y'all to take a look at something.
This Afrikaner refugee had a 5-bedroom house and a mining company in South Africa. You know, the way refugees have. He had to leave behind his car, his dogs, and even his mother. You know, the way that families that are in terrible danger and have to flee usually leave behind their mother. He's also a bigot, at the very least an anti-Semite and an Islamophobe. A few years ago, he posted vile, sweeping, stereotypical statements about Jews on the internet, and he also posted clapping hand emojis in response to a post about assaulting Muslims. In his defense, he says that he was standing up for his religion, and he was also on very heavy medication at the time, specifically morphine. And I'm sure we all know that when somebody takes morphine, they suddenly become a hateful bigot. This is well documented. And he says says that the land expropriation in South Africa has gone too far, your land becomes worthless. I can't wait for him to find out that America has basically the same expropriation laws as South Africa, they just call it something else. And the silliest part of all, you might be amused to know that this man, who walked away from a quality of life, a standard of life, higher than the vast majority of South Africans could ever dream of having, a 5-bedroom house, his surname is Kleinhaus.
Now, what refugee status boxes could someone like that have checked off? Now, on this platform and on my TikTok platform, I posted an additional article regarding that person right there. He didn't want to pay his mortgage anymore. So he ran over here. I guess he really thought that, because the propaganda that they put out, especially the racist propaganda, that you come in, you just get handed everything. You get free housing, free money, free da 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 da. You don't gotta do nothing. It's just all given to you for free. From what budget, I don't fucking know. Don't nobody tell him. Don't nobody tell him. Let him find out the hard way. Hard head, soft ass. Let him find out. Let him crash out. Crash out. I need y'all to truly get honest about non-deconstructing, steeped in white supremacy, white-bodied people. They're the OG scam artist. Like, did y'all forget? They're the OG scam artists. They're not coming to do anything but steal, kill, and destroy. You have an idiot in the White House that wants to be admired and revered so badly that he's willing to throw any and everything because he believes that racism will join them. And in his mind, he really thinks that immigrants they come in and instantly vote on the federal level. And they're like, oh, we'll just put it on the ballot that I can run again. And they'll vote for me because I gave them X, Y, and Z. And we're here. We think that the darkies are bad. And that's not how any of it happens. That's not how any of it works. It's not how any of it works. But if they want to believe it, I'm going to let them. And if you think, no, Trump isn't doing all this to make friends. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He stole classified documents after his last presidency ended. Did he sell the material? No. Did he bargain the material? No. Did he use it in any way to gain leverage? No. From all accounts, even from recordings, he was using it to try to impress people enough to be his friend. Let us not forget the first time he traveled to Russia. He was all over the internet. Do you think Putin will be my best friend? This is why I said, if you stop saying his name, stop giving him coverage, really show him that the majority of nothing likes him, you'll see a shift. He went to where it took the least amount of energy and effort to be accepted. He's too stupid and steeped in ego to realize they don't really like him. They like using him to be able to lie, to be able to live out their wet dreams. Let's continue. Coming from Mediaite, I'll shove it up their asses. Trump rails against political opponents at posh dinner. President Donald Trump recalled the moment he decided to shove it up their ass on Monday during a dinner speech railing against political opponents. But it was the Democrats, right, that are weaponizing the federal government, right? Right? That's what we're doing, right? During a board dinner at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., Trump boasted about securing both the Olympics and the FIFA World Cup in the United States for 2028 and 2026, respectively. We got the Olympics, and then we got Gianni. He's the boss. He's a friend of mine. We got the World Cup, he said. I got both of them, and I said, the World Cup, and I won't be president, and they're going to forget that I got them. Nobody's going to mention it. Let's say that Trump did win 2 consecutive presidencies. Let's say that the Biden term did not happen. He still wouldn't have been president when this shit happened. And how did he get these things? And before some MAGA sticklerfunk comes in here, how did he get? I need y'all to look up the process of how these things occur, how these things are awarded. Trump continued. And then they rigged the election. And then I said, you know what I'll do? I'll run again and I'll shove it up their ass. Now, this is the quote that had people all over the internet, most specifically on TikTok and Blue Sky, going off like, he admitted he rigged the election. No, the fuck you didn't. I need y'all to get some media literacy and some comprehension. I really do. As the board members laughed and applauded, Trump went on. Keep in mind the board members of the Kennedy Center right now. Do not think of the board members of years gone past for the Kennedy Center. Let's not forget that it is a hodgepodge of Fox News and relatives to Trump and random folks from his administration who are from Fox News. Trump went on, and that's what I did. And all of a sudden, and then I realized, I said, you know what? I got the Olympics. I got the World Cup. So if they would have left us alone and wouldn't have cheated on the election and wouldn't have rigged it, I would have been retired right now, he concluded. I would have been happily doing something else. And instead, they have me for 4 more years. Can you believe it? Trump said that if he lost, we would never hear from him again. And he has not shut the fuck up since he lost. So you think that when he's done, when he's supposed to be in retirement, he's going to be in retirement? No. Him and Rupert Murdoch have one thing in common and one thing alone. They always want to appear to be in control. They always want to be at the forefront, even when it's time to hand over the reins. I really believe that they will find a way to haunt the fuck out of their families after they pass away and go on downstairs to Lucifer. But you know, now remember this whole we got to deport everybody because, you know, the immigrants and the migrants and the asylum seekers, they criminals, and we wouldn't have no criminality if we got rid of them, because after they get rid of them, then, you know, they're going to blame the 13%. We got to get rid of them too. Good fuck luck, Chuck. But if that was the case, then they would not be denying due process, because due process would prove that they are correct. But we already discussed that. We know that. But you know what keeps popping up when it comes to criminal activity? White people. Coming from the New York Post, retired 4-star admiral found guilty of bribery after accepting $500,000 a year job in exchange for lucrative Navy contract. D.C. U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro, Jesus Christ, hold y'all Fox News, notched a significant legal victory Monday after retired 4-star Navy Admiral Robert Burke was found guilty of bribery charges related to a scheme to steer government contracts to his former employer. Ain't that what all of y'all doing? Did you not see that he was white? Did he not cut y'all in? Is that why y'all decided? I mean, I'm glad that justice was served, but what rule didn't he play by? Burke, who served as vice chief of naval operations during part of President Trump's first term, was convicted of conspiracy to commit bribery, performing acts affecting a personal financial interest, and concealing material facts from the U.S. after a 5-day trial. So who didn't he cut in? Y'all know y'all thinking the same thing. Formerly the Navy's second highest ranking officer, Burke is now the most senior member of the U.S. military to ever be convicted of a federal crime. Yeah, he didn't play it. Jay, you're right. He didn't give him a piece of that Kit Kat bar. He did not get him a break. When you abuse your position and betray the public trust to line your own pockets, it undermines the confidence in the government you represent, Pirro said in a statement after the verdict. Have they become legally blind? Have they become legal? They can't see Trump? Because we can see Trump. He's sitting there looking like a tangerine Barney. Lord. Our office, with our law enforcement partners, will root out corruption, be it bribes or illegal contracts, and hold accountable the perpetrators no matter what title or rank they hold. So when y'all rolling up on the West Wing, when y'all heading into the Pentagon? Because I don't recall voting for a BOGO, a Hexaf BOGO. Actually, at this point, it's a FOGO. Oh, or would it be BOTO? Buy one, get a BOGA. Buy one, get 3 free. Because we were forced to buy Pete, but then we got the wife, the brother-in-law, and the personal attorney all up in there. So because they doing all sorts of stuff to line the pockets. When you going to get RFK Jr.? When you pulling up on Dr. Oz? When you going to round up Kristi Noem? Tulsi next? Rubio? Vance? So somebody don't matter what rank they are. Burke, 63, was indicted in the case investigated by the Defense Criminal Investigative Services, DCIS, Naval Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS, and the FBI's Washington Field office last May. Oh, that's why. There you go. That's why they didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice. The investigation was already too deep and multiple organizations were involved, so they couldn't bury the lead. There we go. Mystery solved. He was accused of accepting $500,000 yearly salary and a grant of 100,000 stock options from his co-conspirators, Youngkoo Charlie Kim and Megan Messenger. These sound like OnlyFans names. These sound like Pornhub names. These sound like browsers names. I'm just saying, I'm not putting anything on anybody, but I mean, y'all hear what I'm hearing? Okay. In exchange for using his position as a Navy admiral to steer a government contract to an entity named in the indictment as Company A. Kim and Messenger, the co-CEOs of Company A, have reached out to Burke on multiple occasions between 2019 and 2022 about the status of a government contract, despite being warned by the Navy not to contact the 4-star admiral, according to the Justice Department. Well, here's the thing. They wouldn't have been so emboldened to do so if he wouldn't have made it, clear that he was going to answer the phone. Okay? Okay. This what it was. Yeah. But they, they're going to take credit for it. Like, see, we're impartial. Biden administration wasn't impartial. We're impartial. We went after one of our own because you didn't have a choice. Because once Jethro Gibbs gets involved, baby, Oh, and for those of y'all that don't know, Ziva and Tony are back together again. Yeah, Ziva ain't dead. And Ziva and Tony are on Paramount Plus. You're welcome. Just call me Maui. Say that you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, coming from the Independent, FBI closes unit that watched for misuse of national security surveillance to spy on Americans. Overseeing use of Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act was the primary focus of the Office of Internal Auditing. Now, I know that Patel is getting flack from fellow GOPers because he's not dismantling the FBI fast enough. I know, shocker, that he hasn't dismantled. First of all, I don't think Patel ever wanted to dismantle the FBI. I think it's one of those he's negging, like, I can't stand them. Don't put me in charge of that. Where that's really where he wanted to be. It's like the person who bitches and complains about their marriage, but they know that they're with their soulmate and they're terrified to lose that person, but their ego won't let them say it. And they were raised in that honeymooner mindset that's how they show love. It's some weird backward shit. But also, for those that think that because the GOP uses dog whistles like Law and Order, that the FBI has been cool with conservatives or cool with the GOP. Everybody hates the FBI. The FBI has done some underhanded, fucked up shit to everybody. The FBI has surveilled everybody. The FBI has put out gossip on everybody. The FBI done made enemies with everybody, okay? The FBI and presidents and their administrations done had smoke since the FBI was the fucking FBI, okay? Let's not forget that the FBI started, and the first head of the FBI was a lying to the public, trying to stay in the closet, gossiping, problematic son of a bitch. But let's continue. The FBI has closed its unit that serves as an internal watchdog for the misuse of national security surveillance to watch civilians, according to the New York Times. The Office of Internal Auditing was recently closed by Director Kash Patel. The office was created under Donald Trump in his first term to make sure warrantless wiretaps were being used properly. I keep telling y'all, a lot of things that Trump did before that he bragged about, they're being dismantled this time around. Trump is erasing his own legacy, thinking that he's erasing and replacing somebody else's legacy with himself. He's not. He's not. He's erasing himself and replacing himself with himself, and not even to the level that it was. It's like going to Neiman Marcus or Saks Fifth Avenue, buying a whole wardrobe, going through, giving away said wardrobe, and then going to St. Vincent de Paul and buying a wardrobe that just happens to have the same color scheme as the wardrobe that you just got rid of. But also, for people who are sycophants of Trump in this administration, who are, fanboys of Patel, because he does have a fan base, they're like, oh yeah, we're owning the libs. Let me remind y'all, for like the 1 quadrillionth time, we all live under the same legislation. If they can do it to me, they can do it to you. And at this point, the amount of paranoid conspiracy theorists that are at the head of these organizations, they know how y'all move. They know how y'all think. They know your propensity for violence and lying. Who do you think they're going to surveil? They ain't worried about my black ass. I can tell you that. Because they know I'm not storming no damn federal building. They know I'm not going to incite a fucking coup with this skin and with this gender identity or with my sexual orientation. But y'all have proven that y'all will do any and everything because you've been slightly inconvenienced. They know that you will lie and weaponize that lie to get other people riled up to do your dirty work. So who the fuck do you think they're eliminating this shit to keep an eye on? Hey, forever FBI profile. As racist as this fucking country is, when it comes down to actually protecting those that they have always seen as human beings, they're completely honest with it. Because altogether, class, what has always been the profile for the most dangerous people from the FBI? What is the FBI profile? Let's continue. The move comes as Congress is debating whether to reauthorize Section 702 of FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which allows for warrantless wiretapping. Overseeing the legislation was the primary focus of the office. Critics of the law may now argue that the legislation should be scrapped or curtailed as the office managing it has been shuttered. They may also say that Congress should let the law expire. It was extended to April 2026 last year. While Patel has in the past heavily criticized the FBI for the alleged abuse of the surveillance legislation, he said during his confirmation hearing before Senate that it was an important tool to collect foreign intelligence for the protection of national security. This is why I come to my conclusion when it comes to Kash Patel. This is why I come to this conclusion. And quite honestly, when I was younger, I mean like 10th, 11th grade in high school, there were things that, there was one cheer coach that I couldn't stand. And oh my God, I can't wait to get off this team. And then we had a demerit system. I had to step down from the team. I was heartbroken. It is not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted to do. But in my mind, that honeymooner type of thing, adults always complain about everything that they needed or everything that they liked. And then I fell into that trap. And then I learned a lesson very early on. Don't do that shit because the power of the tongue is You can speak things that you want right on out of existence. Right on out of existence. Now, there is a gentleman making his rounds over on the TikTok, okay? Do not go to his profile and give him any attention. Don't drive any traffic to his page. Don't. If you want to address him, go immediately pause the video. That doesn't give them a view. That doesn't give them anything. Download the video and go from there. And you have to keep that in mind, and this is what you need to do. Okay? Okay. Now that we got that, we're going to break this down because, of course, darling, he's got some things going on. He's made racism his personality trait because he has nothing else to offer.
Black people keep mentioning the burning of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. Like it's some big gotcha against all white people. No, dumbass. That was James B.A. Robertson, a Democrat. You know the people, the oppressors that you keep voting for? Maybe if you had two brain cells to rub together and weren't so busy just pretending to be a victim, you'd figure out not all white people are Democrats.
Whoever said that all white people were Democrats? And Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Red Summer, period, altogether, wasn't just one place, and it wasn't politically motivated. But I love how they like to blame their hatred, their disdain, their despicable, savage history on politics. It's almost like they're kind of admitting that they can't think for themselves. They have that hive mentality, that herd mentality. It wasn't me, it was the politics that made me do it. Get the fuck out of here. But let's keep going.
Blacks and liberals don't actually care about slavery. They just want more free shit. If they did care, they would talk about how blacks sold other blacks to the ships owned by Jews. Or maybe they would mention that the first legal slave owner was black in America. Or
now, I love how he said legal slave owner. Okay, so there were illegal slave owners. Here's the thing. white people, non-deconstructing racist ass pieces of shit, come to the front. If the first slave owner was black, black people would not have been the ones enslaved, and chattel slavery would not have lasted for 100 years. We would have never been enslaved. I want you to think about that. You brought us over here. If you brought us over here and we were able to get out of slavery, why would we enslave one another? And if you enslaved us under the pseudo religion and pseudo sciences, us being inferior, why would you follow the lead of the blackies? And no, okay, Judaism is an ethno religion. Okay, the ships weren't Jewish ships. Okay, there were whole ass companies regarding the transatlantic slave trade that were government sanctioned by governments outside of the United States. Well, outside the colonies at that time. And the major religion that was being pushed to the forefront to justify slavery was Christianity. This is why I said this person doesn't have a personality. They don't have any marketable skills. They don't even believe what they're spewing because they're not even getting the talking points correct. They're trying to sprinkle a little extra in there because they don't even believe it. And they want, once they get a big enough following, to try to have a gotcha moment. And before you think I'm reaching, y'all are familiar with the Unfuck America tour at this point. Now there's an Unfuck America Tour 2.0. And the vast majority of people, because they're now doing a bunch of lives damn near every night, these are all people who were former MAGA. Like 6 months ago, they were MAGA. But now they've had this epiphany and they switch sides. Because they'll use one point to grift so far to get so many numbers. And then they know, ooh, once you get to this point, it's more profitable and it gets you more clout if you flip-flop. And then when you get to this pinnacle, then you flip-flop again. And then when you hit this number, then you flip-flop again. Think I'm joking? Watch them. Go back and look at different people. This is when you start getting remixes to the rhetoric. Now to close out for the day, coming from the Hill, migrants deported to South Sudan in violation of court order, attorney says. Yes. This is also why I keep telling y'all, stop saying, this is from the playbook of Mussolini. This is from the playbook of Hitler. This is from the playbook. This is from our playbook. Other people have come to us, asked to check out the book, and then when they bring it back, we add chapters onto it. That's it. This is our playbook. Immigration attorneys on Tuesday alleged the Trump administration deported to South Sudan a group of migrants who were not from the war-torn country in violation of a court order. U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy, an appointee of former President Biden who serves in Boston, previously ordered the administration to provide certain notice to migrants before moving them to a third country where they have no ties. Tuesday's filing accuses the administration of violating that injunction when a group of migrants left the country on a plane to South Sudan in recent hours, asking Murphy to order their return to the United States. Return is eminently reasonable and necessary in such a situation, as the Supreme Court recognized in recent weeks. Y'all keep talking about, and have for years, If there is a second civil war, I'm ready for the smoke. I don't know why they just didn't contact The Hague. I don't know why they didn't do this. Is your time. Contact not just the UN ambassador from the United States, contact them all. Contact the ICC, the International Criminal Court. Contact them all. It is now time. Contact world leaders. You can at them on social media. You can make a video towards them on social media. It takes less effort to do that than it does to look up who you think your significant other is chit-chatting with at lunch. You know all the ins and outs about they work husband or they work wife. This is the time. And let me say something, because this conversation keeps coming up more than once. Stop this. Don't call yourself an accomplice. Don't call yourself a partner. Don't call yourself an activist for the right side of history. Don't call yourself an advocate. If you have no fight, you only have flight, and that flight is for the preservation of your comfort. Because where something is normalized or something is getting rough in one area, and you decide, oh, this is uncomfortable for me, I'm going to leave. That doesn't mean it's going to be contained to that area. It's going to move. If you touch poison ivy and you rub it on your arm and you're like, you know what, I'm going to go wash my hands, I just ain't going to touch this arm again. Do you think it's going to be contained to your arm? No. You're going to wake up, it's going to be on your shoulders, it's going to be across your chest, it's going to be down your back, it's going to be on your leg. It's going to spray it because you didn't deal with it. You just left it there thinking that it wasn't going to grow. If you get mold in one corner of the room, do you think by ignoring it, it will not overcome the room, eventually the home, eventually the neighborhood, eventually the city? You see where I'm going? Y'all kept asking generation after generation after generation, how did we get here? How did they let this happen? I would never. Yes, you would. And you're seeing how we got to certain points and why we are stuck in this fucked up Groundhog Day. But you know, it is what it is. As always, thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz. And there's a new short form audio podcast up on Spotify. All links are in my bio. Make sure you're there. And if you are not subscribed to either the extra videos and content on TikTok or to my Substack, why not? Don't forget, still raising funds to be able to sponsor a handful of children so that they can continue their education, because they need a little extra assistance over the summer, but they are from low-income families. Even $2 can help. Those links to be able to send that are in the bio. As always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Go out and get into some good trouble. But remember, in this economy, nothing that takes bail money. I will see you all tomorrow over on Substack at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for Taz Club with Savage Inequalities. We're still going through chapter 3. See you there.